want to talk about positioning statements. Because you heard today about great ways to design your sentences so that they were interesting and didn't turn people off and didn't put people to sleep. But what are you going to say? What's the message? And as Barry has said to you, differentiation is key. So that's a key thing. And the key in terms of working with your clients is providing differentiated value that only you can provide. And that's your positioning statement. That also takes you to your brand. So if you can be strong about what it is that's unique about you that nobody else can provide, you're in a winner. Now, if you're talking on leadership, it's going to be a little hard. If you Google leadership, you'll probably get 25,000 entries with just that word, and probably 150,000, with the next version of it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Some of you that are doing estate planning and have some very specific tweaks about how you get organized for it have a slightly easier time of it. So I think it depends on what topic you've got, how differentiated you need to be. But even if you're in communication or leadership, you need to figure out what people value about you that's unique within that category. All right. And so I think we want to spend some time about that. The other thing that showed up at the lunch table, and it always shows up in this group, is then who are your target markets? And Craig actually asked you to do that for prep, so I didn't have to. But the key thing is you need to know who you want to send this to. And what came up at the lunch table, which often comes up at the lunch table, is that the people that you think need to hear it might not want to hear it. And so you need to find the people that are willing to pay for it. Okay? And you need to find the people that are willing, Craig talked a bit about expertise. Sometimes your expertise is how you spin a process. I think that some of you may have heard Alan Weiss in the past. And he, like Craig and like Nan, have chosen to do cross-industry in some perspective. But Craig and Alan Weiss and Nan Andrews Amish, we might not have a particular target expertise topic, but we've got expertise processes, and you can market around that too. So I would ask you, if you're cross-industrying or if you're cross-marketing, what is it that you are bringing that's common in all the places where you play? Because maybe it's the process, not the content. Okay? Does that make sense to you? Okay. And you're going to hear from all kinds of NSA people, oh, you should be a coach, or you should be a facilitator, or you should be a management consultant, or you should be this or that, or a trainer, or whatever. I have no idea what you should be. You said you had another business. Some of the rest of you do have other businesses. It depends where else that expertise from a process perspective fits, what's appropriate for you to go out and do. I've seen a lot of amazing speakers, and in fact, several of them have already been before this group, and they're not good facilitators. And in fact, Ellen will tell you how many times I've told her, they're not a facilitator. Don't put them the head of the table. Put them at the head of the room, but not the head of the table, because that's not what they do well. So I think you need to figure out, where's your sweet spot? What are you good at? But I would say, do your homework. Find out what your people want. You heard some good comments from Craig and Linda. Ask people why they like you. Ask people what they read. Ask people what associations they belong to. Ask people where they get their information. Ask people what they think is credible. I've been tracking the healthcare industry in terms of the cost of healthcare since 1982. One of the things that makes me credible, interestingly enough, is that I not only know the cost side from the business side, but unfortunately, I know it from the experience as a personal side. And so that makes me sort of unique, because most of the people who have been beat up by the system, they don't understand how it's structured. But I understand how it's structured, and I had $50,000 of unpaid medical bills in 2004, in spite of having Blue Cross California contract. So, I've seen them in action. Did you know that a third of the total healthcare cost in the United States is based upon the insurance side of the house, where we've employed hundreds of thousands of people with master's degree to tell us that we don't qualify for benefits? There might be another way to do that. Not sure, but maybe. All right, so pay attention to, how do your people make decisions? What do they think is credible? Who do they pay attention to? Do they pay attention to ads? What do they read? Do they belong to associations? If so, what? Do they only go to the national? Do they go to the regional? There's been a crisis in a lot of associations lately. Most associations are having trouble keeping their most senior members. The regional and local stuff is a lot of junior members. The national stuff tends to have the more senior members. If that's the case, how are you going to build that rapport to get up there? So, do your homework. Okay. This next one is referred to different things depending who you are. If you're in sales, we tend to talk about unique selling proposition. If I'm in strategy, I tend to call it a competitive advantage. If I'm in marketing, I tend to call it differentiation. I don't really care what we call it, but it's that thing we were talking about before that's unique about you. That other people who are marketing to your folks and your target markets, what makes you different. And the key thing about differentiation is it can't be a bell and a whistle. It needs to be something that they really value, and it needs to be something that they're willing to pay money for. And you need to find out how much they're willing to pay for it. And what do they want it with? Okay. So this whole positioning thing falls out of that uniqueness. And the positioning is what makes your company and your speeches unique and your products unique. And positioning is everything. It is everything. Without it, you cannot do marketing. Nancy Webb's going to be in here next session with you. She's going to tell you great ways to set up graphics. Rick was in here talking about a business plan. Some of you are investing in all kinds of marketing ideas. Some of you are even writing articles already. Some of you have even got books and workshops and all kinds of amazing things. If it doesn't mirror your positioning, it's not helping you market. And that positioning should show up in everything you do. Everything you do. And it should be part of your branding. And it needs to be built on that thing that people want to pay money for. That's unique about you. Once we've got this done, and once we know, A, how we're unique, B, why our target market wants it, C, who is our target market in terms of who's willing to pay, why we're better than everybody else in our sweet spot, whatever that sweet spot is, we've developed the positioning, we've aimed it into a brand with something that either shows sort of our classicness, we've got some stickiness that'll help us remember. Then and only then can we look at one-sheets, websites, home pages, writing articles, PR campaigns, and all the sentence aerobics we did this morning. Before we've done that, how do you know what message to reinforce? You don't.